Pam Marshall of Shallow Gardens and Mr. Joey Jordan the third. Give them a hand clap and welcome them in today. Hey, Miss Pam. Hey, Mr.
Hey. Affectionately. But like she said, family brought us in, my daughter, and with Pam, this is her passion, and me being in the
Is that we've talked over the years. It's hard starting out and everything, but you have to stay in it and stay focused on what you're trying to do and the reason why you're in it.
But I think it's so important for us to have these vulnerable conversations with them as well, because truth be told, not all licensed representatives
say that we should tear the entire system down, but we need to do some critiquing. I don't think that childcare providers and small business owners, childcare center owners,
being these politicians and making them aware of what's going on and what's being cut and what's not being available that should be available,
right,
and brought it to the right people's attention.
Hey, my friends, welcome back to another episode of the Childcare Teacher Chronicles Podcast, where we talk about all things childcare, specifically from the teacher's point of view. However, I have an owner here who I have known for quite a few years, and people kept coming in the inbox wanting to know more and more about childcare and owning. So I have Miss Pam Marshall of Shallow Gardens and Mr. Joey Jordan the third. Give them a hand clap and welcome them in today. Hey, Miss Pam. Hey, Mr. Joey.
Hello.
Welcome. So tell us a little bit about yourselves and what brought you here, but we want to make sure our audience know who you are.
Okay, I am Pamela Marshall, owner, director, CEO of Shallow Gardens Academy, Central City, and Shallow Gardens Academy and Early Learning Center on Murray Street in the Ninth Ward.
Here in New Orleans.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So we've been operating in childcare for about 21 years now, off and on. Katrina interrupted us. We came back, started out as a family childcare, and then we grew. So we are 2 centers deep right now, and currently working on a 3rd location. Childcare has definitely, it became my passion. I didn't know it was my passion until our daughter was born like 3 months early, and we ended up having to meet her needs as a premature child. So we had to kind of like turn our home into a learning environment for her, so that she would not have the developmental delays that her doctors had told us that she would have.
Okay.
And from that point on, after seeing the progress I made with her, I'm like, this is my passion. This is what I want to do. I want to be able to extend this to other parents as well that experience the same thing.
And then you say, Joey, come on. This is what we doing.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Joey. So tell us a little bit about you and what your role is with Shallow Gardens and what got you in here with early education.
Joseph Jordan the third, as she said, but friends and family call me Joey or Mr. Joey affectionately. But like she said, family brought us in, my daughter, and with Pam, this is her passion, and me being in the construction industry, I helped her, build centers and construct from inside and outside. We had it rough in the beginning, a few places that we had to get, but we made it work. Working together, and it was rough. Things are different now, as she's elevated with funding and all the different things that comes with it. And at this point, she brought me in as an operational manager now.
Okay.
And so I see day-to-day function and activities with the classrooms, teachers, administration, and it's rewarding.
Okay.
On both ends, financially and with the kids, to see them grow, to go from infants to toddlers to graduating is different.
Okay. Well, I'm extremely glad that you were able to come, because far too often we have the conversation with females and we have the conversation of the women who work in early childhood education. So I love the fact when we see that men are actually working in our early child care centers, not only as teachers, but taking on leadership roles, more interactive with the staff and the parents and the overall operations of the center. But since we talk about the overall operation of the center, is it an illusion or is it reality? Do childcare make money?
It's an illusion.
Shame the devil and tell the truth.
It's an illusion.
Miss Pam, look at that camera right there and tell them it's a what?
It's an illusion. There is money to be made. However, you have to be passionate about this profession to come into it. Don't look to get rich. you will be enriched. You will be enriched by the lives that you impact, the families that you bring in and who come back to you year after year, and they recommend and they send other people to your centers because of the impact you've had on them and their children as well. It had, like you said, we've had some rough patches, but as we all know, a lot of the other providers that we've talked to over the years, it's hard starting out and everything, but you have to stay in it and stay focused on what you're trying to do and the reason why you're in it. Understanding your why is understood. That's what gets you up every morning and get you in here. Some days you're gonna have some good days and you're gonna have some bad days.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, do people assume childcare owners are making a huge profit?
People do. People assume we're making a huge profit. Kill your assumptions right now because we're not. Even though people hear about the funding that we're receiving and lately with the ARPA grants and everything that went along with it, as much money as we get, that's as much, double of that is going back out the door.
Absolutely.
So we're using those funds to maintain staff. Insurance has gone up tremendously. We have expenses as far as curriculums and things of that nature, even having to pay the increased wages for staff members and maintaining teachers to make sure that we don't have the turnover rate that has been so great.
But also in some of our centers, we have programs where the parents aren't responsible for paying
for nothing.
Anything.
For anything.
Diapers, formulas, wipes, whatever it is, the centers have to provide it. So the expenses are there. Mr. Joey, you working in operations, how do you feel with watching so much go out each month in expenses when it's hard to try to recoup or increase the revenue?
Well, we talked about this in the last few weeks. Actually, we're trying to develop a system and a plan to recruit more kids, keep some of the kids that's graduating and you call it aging out of the program. We're trying to find ways to keep them in the program. We already have them in there. We're trying to keep them in there as long as possible to keep the funding going, because without it, you probably couldn't keep the doors open.
Absolutely.
But also going forward, the cost is just is skyrocketing. With a lot of different issues. But by the grace of God, we're able to make ends meet with funding that we get. But also what you guys do as far as advocating and lobbying with the government to get these funds available, because without that, I'm sure there'd be a lot of centers that would have issues keeping the doors open, and a lot of people don't see that part of it. I do. I see you guys get out there and go to Baton Rouge and all these conferences and all these different things. Y'all stick together to get this funding, because without it, like I said, and now with this new government trying to cut education, I don't understand why, but without these avenues, I just don't see how it could work, because a lot of times, like you said, a lot of parents don't pay.
Right.
So if you had to go only on private pay, it would virtually be impossible to keep the doors open.
Absolutely. Even you saying that, Ms. Pam, I had talked to you about some of the things we tried to do with our new location we opened in either one of my other locations that had low enrollment. I had to run specials. So at one of my locations, I'm charging $125 a week. And that the special was my 10-year anniversary special. That means I charged the price I charged when I opened.
That's what I was
10 years ago.
Yes. That was our 10-year ago
That's
price.
what I was
Yes,
about to say,
absolutely.
yeah.
And so you'll be surprised, though. I'm getting more and more cash parents in now who's able to afford that, especially when we have the freeze on childcare assistance and, these city seats and grant seats. One minute you have them, the next minute you don't.
You don't.
But we really are needing to look at our budget and what can we afford, And speaking of finances and budgeting, one thing that I always do with my management team, and a lot of centers that, when I tell them this, they like, I never really thought of that. I tell them the expenses we have. I tell them all the time when I coach some of my clients, trust me when I say your teachers, your management, they're sitting back calculating how much money you make. They could sit there and go, oh, tuition is 200 a week. We got 87 kids. That times that, or they could do math real quick when they counting your money.
yes.
What's coming in? What's coming in?
What's coming in.
Mhm.
But each month I go sit with my management team and I have those conversations about what's going out.
Right.
This is what went out to payroll. This is what went out to food supply. This is what went out to curriculum. This went out to the diapers and the wipes and the formulas and everything else. And now we're left with 3,000, 12,000, 4,000, those different amounts. So when you have that educated conversation, then they can have those conversations with the teachers who say, oh, we need to get paid more.
Yes.
Yeah. Ain't much more we could pay you. Where else is gonna come from?
Honey, I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel already. You know.
Speaking of scraping the bottom of the barrel, have you ever looked at your finances at the end of the month and say, "Damn, is this even still worth it?"
I do. I have questioned it lately, especially with like I said, with the funding running out, and with the threat of us probably going to be losing seats next year because of the policies have changed in this game. So now we're having to come up with more creative ways to get those parents in the door. Like you said, you have to decrease your tuition rates substantially, but you do get to have those seats filled. I look at it like that. At least they're not empty.
Right.
And you are getting something. And if you are on the food program, those kids and those families will be covered by that as well.
Right.
But, I have had to really, really rethink, how am I going to do this? I cannot be in this industry and completely depend on public funding.
Right.
And it's making us really putting us in this pressing place where we have to rethink how we're going to stay in this industry and sustain it and be able to take care of our families also.
Right. And so I find that there's quite a few sectors of people. You know, we are a part of CCAL, the Child Care Association of Louisiana. We have Child Care Millionaires Association, where we come together and we game plan together, right? Because more often than not, we are losing funding, we are losing seats, and we have to realize how to sustain our establishments. So again, just getting in those like-minded groups and those like-minded rooms where you can plot out successful ways, you know, and you know yourself, like we've even been there to help each other financially, to help each other spiritually. So it's a whole slew of things that come with trying to find better ways to maintain yourself, your center, and your organization as a whole. So let's talk about some of the never-ending expenses, hidden costs that drains our profits. If you had to think of a hidden cost that literally drains your profit that people don't really think of when I want to open a center because I like kids and kids are fun. What would that be? What would one of those hidden costs that kind of blindsides you?
The hidden cost, I can definitely say that lately it's been the insurance.
Oh, you took it right out of my mouth.
The insurance has increased triple. And not double, not by 5%. It's been triple. And that is where most of our monies are going. I dread my renewal every year.
I'm going through it now, girl.
I know. It's horrible because you don't know what you're going to be hit with, because they make these changes behind the scene, and when it's time to renew, Miss Pamela, you didn't fall in this bracket, or you had a write-up or a citation from the state that we saw on your profile, and we can't cover you because of this and that. And a lot of people don't know that what happens in your centers on a daily basis, when licensing comes out, when the fire marshal comes out, those things impact your insurance rates.
Yeah, it's public knowledge.
It is public knowledge, and a lot of insurance companies may not want to pick Shiloh Gardens up next year, and you won't find that out until it's time to renew.
I have a young lady now, we're talking, she can't even open her center because she cannot get the insurance to cover it. Myself along with Reg, we are paying upward of 6 figures a year on insurances from all these properties.
And then you couple that with payroll.
Yeah.
And with payroll, what drives it is the having to have your teachers, enough teachers to keep the ratios correct. And so that drives you. You don't see that going in. You don't realize and understand that you have to have a teacher for every 5 children, 10 children, whatever. So as your enrollment grows, you have to keep hiring. And they're also driving the wages of the teachers up.
Yeah.
So payroll and insurance, if you're not ready, get ready.
Get ready.
And then payroll itself, you know, we have those little those little sneak attacks on payrolls, because we know what hours we are assigning to people, but you're on top of the girl who come 5 minutes late every day or 10 minutes late every day, but you never really notice the person who come 10 minutes early every day.
Yeah.
You know,
And stay 10 minutes
and
late.
stay 10 minutes late every day. And then you wonder why she got it, how she get into overtime, right?
Yeah.
So that payroll expense, you gotta watch it on both sides because it will pop up on you, and it is an expense that literally could sink your business. I know a lady not too long ago, her payroll was 70% of her profit. You know, you definitely want to make sure your payroll is under 50%.
Right.
At 70% of your profit with everything else, it is going to be hard to maintain your establishment.
And functional materials. I mean, we go through it so much with having to order all of these supplies monthly. It's a lot.
And don't talk about the same supplies. Y'all need crayons again? What
Again?
y'all doing? Eating the crayons?
Right. I'm wondering, are you all watching these kids? I mean, why do you allow them to tear things up or break them deliberately? Treat this as if they were your children at home breaking your money and your toys.
Right.
You
Yes.
know, and it's hard to get them to, I will walk in classrooms and see kids beating on books. And I'm like, are you watching this? Do you see that you're not playing with that correctly? Or,
Right.
you know, just hitting on things and they break everything. And I'm like, if you all value this material and everything in here as much, we can take that money and spend it on something else.
Yep. Or it could be something that increases your pay.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So that's another way to think of it. So just in talking about staff, let's talk about the struggles with staff, finding and keeping good staff. Ooh, Mr. Joey had to rub his head, y'all getting them. So let me ask, have you ever lost a great teacher simply because you couldn't afford to pay them more?
I have, yes. I've lost a great teacher because I could not afford to pay her more, and also because I had to bite the bullet to put this great teacher in a classroom with a lazy teacher. And the stress of her not making enough money and coming to work dealing with someone who's just not pulling their part or who's not playing their role. It was just too much for her. And I understood. I hated it. But I definitely understood where she was coming from.
Yeah.
So that kind of kept your hands tied with what you needed to do in that situation.
Exactly. Yes.
No, I understand. So what has been your hardest decision when balancing salaries versus keeping your center profitable?
My hardest decision has been, do I take a pay cut? Which is normally what I have to do.
Do I, meaning you personally?
Me personally, yes. Or do I pay the electric bill next month or get an extension or pay it a little later in order to cover this expense or that expense? My payroll is most important to me because I can't run a center without my staff.
Right.
And sometimes you have to let some things go or be a little late or be delayed because you have to have those funds available.
Yes.
And operating in the red is no fun for anyone. So yeah, I've had to take pay cuts and no pay at all at sometimes.
And I think that quite a few teachers don't understand it. That goes back to that first question, do childcare centers really make a lot of money? Do owners walk away with a lot of money? There are so many times when we ourselves have to cut our pay or not get paid at all just to make sure everything of this business runs smooth.
Right.
And again, I don't think that, teachers understand that. They value that that's a decision we're making to keep them in a good place. And so it makes it hard when you have those ungrateful teachers, when you know all you have given and done and put into it,
And they don't get to see, this firsthand when you open a new center, how difficult it is to keep these centers operational, just to keep the doors and the lights on. A lot of times your centers don't become profitable for a long time.
Yeah.
So you find yourself injecting your own personal money into these centers because this is your passion, this is your brand. And to keep it functional, you have to put your own money in there to keep it open until other things become available to help you sustain these bills that we're talking about here. And people don't get to see that. Only us, that's going through it. Right. They don't
you gonna
understand.
take everything from it.
And you're like, yeah. And so people don't get to see that, and they don't understand the stress level that comes with that when you're dealing with that, and you also still trying to run a center that's up and running, that's functional. But without that center running, this center's not. It's just a balancing, juggling act
It
that
is.
Yeah.
people don't appreciate from you guys. That I know, that I see since I'm in it. That I say, wow, man, y'all superheroes to me.
Oh,
Thank you.
oh, thank
So
you, Mr.
sweet.
Joey. Well, but let me say, speaking of, the finances and being able to afford teachers and being able to pay ourselves, we do know that early childcare is one of the lower paying professions, right?
Yes.
And so my question to that, if childcare centers does not raise pay or make it more affordable for teachers to be there, where would our industry be in the next 5 years?
This is why advocacy is so important.
Oh, say that word. Look at that camera. Say that word again.
Advocacy is very, very important to the future of any industry, but it's most importantly childcare, because these children are our future. So we invest in them right now, and we keep going to the Capitol. We keep pressing our legislators and making sure that they understand how important it is to invest in our children right now. So 5 or 10, 15 years down the road, they won't have to worry about putting them, them going through the prison system or anywhere, that they will have success rates in graduation. They will go to college and they will be productive citizens in the future. And that's what our goals are. And it starts with us. So it's always important that we get together, parents, teachers, providers, we all get together and make sure that we're out advocating and, making sure that this is something that is a priority on our legislators' list.
And they also putting pressure on us with, and it's not a bad pressure, but they're demanding that teachers are now certified at certain levels, and that increases pay.
Yeah.
So when you want to get quality teachers that's certified, they're going to demand more money. So
Right.
you need help all the way around the board.
And they deserve it.
They
They
do.
definitely
do.
deserve it. Yes.
You won't get them without the pay.
Right.
And that's another thing that we're finding. And you go in, and if they don't have it, then you have to find someone that you can invest in to get them certified. Some programs won't allow you the time to even help these people get certified. They want them to come in certified.
But then also, when you get them service certified, hope and pray that they stay with you and not jump ship
Jump
for
out the
20
door.
cents more,
Yes. Yes.
So it is a balancing act. And, I say it all the time, in early child care, we can only make a certain amount of money. Our cap is our cap. If we got 100 kids and we charge $100, and then
That's it.
that's all the money we gonna make. It's not like we could just go buy more burgers and drop more burgers and drop more burgers and get more expenses out of what we already have there. And that's where the problem come in, because let's just be honest. Like I say, I have to do a 125 special. That's not much revenue, especially when the average cost of care right now is $215. That's
Right.
almost $100 less.
Yes.
As expenses are going up and food is going up and people are looking for higher paid salaries, how do we sustain this industry right now without advocating like we need to?
Right. Good question.
And one way you've already come up with it, and it's sadly that you have to take such a big cut.
Yeah.
But like we said, you look at that seat being occupied or unoccupied and
Right.
making no money.
Right.
What I told to my son the other day, am beats now, and he don't know what that means. And I said that means any little bit beats not having nothing at all. So
as be now.
am beats now. That's what the old people used
And
to
dollar
say.
beat now.
And dollar ain't got now. Okay, my great grandmother them used to use that analogy, but I understood what it meant, and they were like, having a little bit is better than having nothing at all.
Right.
So you have to get to that point to where you are willing to make those sacrifices, or you just gonna have to throw the towel in and just be like and walk away from this, because this is a very uncertain industry.
Right.
It's very uncertain, and we don't know what funding's gonna be like from one moment to the next. We don't. We're impacted by everything, by sicknesses, by illnesses, diseases, by socio-economical impacts that the environment is going through,
Right.
like inflation right now.
Right.
So all of these things, and affect us
Right.
personally, because we have families also. We live in this world. We live in these communities. So what affects them affects us as well.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and I've seen her, Ms. Stacey, get nervous when the government starts talking about tariffs and all of those things, they don't realize how that affects us with supplies. You know, she's like, look, we got to go load up for the next 3 months so that if it does kick in, when the prices go up, we're already stocked and it's
Right.
not going to affect us immediately. And people
Right.
don't think like that, you know,
Right.
but we have to.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just you having the foresight of saying, okay, this is happening now. Let me do or let us do what we can to protect our staff, protect our children,
Yes.
protect our business.
Yes.
That way we don't feel such a huge impact
Right.
for it, you know.
Hmm.
But just speaking on like salaries and things, and we're going to get a little bit more into the advocate side. How do you like? I have some great people on my team, like great people. They dedicated, they loyal, they love it, takes a village, they understand what the vision and mission is, but so do you. You all have some good people on your team.
Thank you.
I
We
mean,
do.
they
Yes.
good, bad, or indifferent. They loyal and they there
Yes.
and they got your back, right?
Exactly.
So when we have struggles with salaries and being able to feel like we're paying them what we know they're worth, what do you do to make sure that your people feel included, they feel cared about, they feel that they can count on you? How do you all offset that lack of financial support?
We always, I think it's important to make sure that these teachers have opportunities for growth.
Uh-huh.
Creating different roles in our center instead of going out and hiring new people. I always try to grow within and make sure that I'm preparing these teachers for those positions and letting them know that, look, you have worked very hard. I see you. And that's something that I tell them all the time. I see you because I see what you're doing. You don't ask for anything. You're always willing to get in where you fit in. So I think it's very important that you make them feel like your growth is the reason for our success.
Right.
And you deserve to benefit from anything we have that come through this door, whether it be a pay increase, whether it be wage enhancements, stipends, or even at the end of the year for Christmas time, bonuses. I make sure I take care of them for Christmas. That's the time of the year when money is a little strapped for everybody.
Yeah.
So I try to make sure that I show my appreciation through things of means like that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this comes from we have our sessions with Dr. DeShannon. Give a shout out to Dr.
Hey,
D.
Dr. D.
Dr. D.
And she's taught us, you know, how
Yes.
to grow from within.
Uh-huh.
Because, like you said, when you have these special people in your program already, it's a must that you keep them and you grow with them and you nurture them. And I think we make them feel like family because they are. And as we grow, they grow, and we give them more responsibility, so that they can earn more money. And we also try to get them to understand that we need them to help the new members coming in
Right.
become better
Right.
teachers, administrators, you know, things of that nature. And they get it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't,
Right,
you
right,
know,
right.
but for the most part, it's the effort that counts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we see, and that's what it's about.
Absolutely. And we have to do so with pure hearts, you know, because sometimes we pour into those staff members and give more and give extra and give, and then they might turn around and kick us in the ass.
And
you
they
Well,
know?
take off.
that
Or they
happens.
take off.
Yeah, we all have that story.
Yeah.
Right, but
we get it.
as owners, we learn that, you know,
Yeah.
not to take it personal, you know,
Yes,
continue to
absolutely.
do what we know is the right thing to do because it will stick, you know, for some of them. It will stick and they
Yes.
will stick
Yes.
around.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the government and red tape and licensing and regulations and all that, right? So do you think the state regulations actually help us in childcare or do it make it harder for centers to stay open?
I think that there needs to be a balance. We use this term, does it need a remodel? Absolutely. I don't say that we should tear the entire system down, but we need to do some critiquing. I don't think that childcare providers and small business owners, childcare center owners, that we have any guardrails. We don't have any support. It's like we don't get the benefit of the doubt in most cases. No matter how we try to do everything by the book, how we try to walk that straight line, there's always going to be something they're going to find. There's always going to be something that we didn't do right, but then there's never saying that, okay, I know you guys are dealing with a whole lot and I can understand you probably forgot this or this may have slipped through the cracks, but I feel like we can have a better support system and really thinking about our mental health,
Right.
taking all of that into consideration because even one day in our center on a regular day, most of them would not be able
They
to
would
do
not
it.
be able to make it.
Yes, they would not be able to make it.
I think also we do have some politicians that advocate for us.
Absolutely.
Without them, a lot of things that we're enjoying now wouldn't be possible.
Absolutely.
And we've seen that growth because at one time they were non-existing.
Right.
So whatever you guys got is because y'all wouldn't get it out the mud.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you started incorporating these politicians and making them aware of what's going on and what's being cut and what's not being available that should be available,
Right.
and brought it to the right people's attention, and they were able to go to Baton Rouge, go to DC, and fight for us. We see the difference it makes. Now it doesn't always work 100%, but like we say, Ambi, now, so sometimes some of the things they've done has helped us get to the point where we're at now, but we got to keep fighting, because there's new policies, new government, new cuts. And so those people that put in a little effort, we got to keep them, fortified so that they can keep fighting for us because it's a never ending battle.
It's important for licensing to work with us and not against us.
Right.
And that's how most of us feel because we're like, come on, we're all in this for the children and the safety of everyone involved. But sometimes you feel like licensing is coming out to interrogate you, to intimidate your staff, and they like flex their muscles. And it's not a good feeling when you know you bust your ass all day, every day to come in here to make this thing work. And for you to come in here and critique me, if I'm doing something wrong, allow me the opportunity to fix it, to correct it. But don't just automatically assume that it's something that I'm doing deliberately.
Right. And you know what's so ironic about that? I finally had an ex-licensed representative to come on the podcast and speak with us.
Really?
Yes, I have been trying to get a licensed representative or someone in that arena to come in. So far, the problem is if they still employ for them, they can't do it.
Yeah.
They can't. And I
Yeah.
used to say, well, that means y'all got some shit to talk about.
No
If you
kidding.
can't do it while you employed, that means you got some stuff to
I
talk
bet
about.
she did.
But because of work-related things, she wasn't able to come. Hopefully, we'll get her one time on here. But I think it's so important for us to have these vulnerable conversations with them as well, because truth be told, not all licensed representatives understand or agree with some of the rules they have to come out and
Right.
enforce, right?
Yes.
And that's the reason why they can't come on and have this open dialogue, while employed. But let me ask, what's one regulation that adds stress to owners but truly does not improve the quality of childcare?
I just had an incident where a parent did address an issue with one of my teachers. The teacher took it as the parent in a playful way because the parent allowed the child to go and tell the teacher, I didn't like it when you did this, or I didn't like it when you said that. So the teacher was just rushing it off and thought it was funny and walked off. When a parent came back a couple of weeks later and reported it to me and my director, we reported it to licensing because it is an accusation. Okay, so when they came out, they found nothing wrong. We had all of our statements, everything was in line. They still wrote me up because the teacher did not tell us. So how is that going to improve the quality of my program if I am held liable for someone else's integrity? And I didn't think that was fair. Actually, when licensing came out, that teacher was on suspension at the time. So even if she was there that day, they could have questioned her and asked her why, but they didn't even make an attempt to call her or contact her to find out why you did not report this to your supervisor. But within the 15-minute mark, when that parent was talking to us, my director was typing the critical
self-report.
Yes.
And you still got penalized.
And I still got penalized.
I agree with that. Years and years and years ago, I had a situation happen at my center where I had a food tech who the little girl was crying and they sent her to the bathroom to clean her face or something from the class, and the food tech went to the bathroom and was like, I'm not gonna open this door unless you stop crying. It's lunchtime. You need to sit down and eat your lunch. And as I was walking in the classroom, the teacher was walking out to come get me. But I was walking in the class and seeing it. And I said, well, what are you doing? And she was like, oh, I was just telling her, she got to be a big girl and stop crying. And if she want to eat, she needs to stop the tip. I immediately sent the food tech home. I reported it to licensing. I reported it to our grant agency who the child was the seat was funded for, and I called the parent and reported it to the parent. I terminated the food tech after that, but immediately I sent her home. I reported to everybody I was supposed to report
Did
it
everything
to.
you thought
Right
you were
there.
supposed to do.
You know, licensing came and did an inspection.
Yes.
You know, I still got to write up because the incident happened. Because the incident, I said, so wait, I did everything I was supposed to do. Immediately saw it, reported it to you all, reported it to CPS, reported it to the parents, and because the incident happened, I got to write up.
Yes.
Now, how fair is that for the sinners? And I told them then, this is why sinners do not report things to you all.
Yes.
Because I can, and that's the truth of the matter, family and friends. We cannot control everything somebody does in our establishment. Just like at fast food places, you hear all the stuff they do to your burgers and your fries and stuff. The owner, Mr. Burger King, can't control that person. They can make sure that they are training these people. They are doing mental checks to make sure, because if a person is not mentally fit, we're not going to have them in our establishment, right? No. But you can't blame the owner or the director for a incident or a move that a teacher or a staff member makes. And that's one thing that is something that kind of keeps us in turmoil with licensing, because they always want to put it back on the sinners.
And it doesn't benefit childcare.
It does not.
With the instance she was talking about, they came out and it was the same thing, and I had to point out to her, because her and our assistant director, they were hot behind them coming out, and kind of, because when they do, they try to come out and chastise you,
They do.
But in the long run, when I brought the paperwork out and I showed her, because she was bawling, I was like, listen, out of 41 sites, we had like 3 issues. 2 of them were corrected on site. So we had one that, so she was like, oh, because they commented on almost all of them. But most of them, they were saying we were in compliance. So I felt like that was a win. I was like, out of 41 issues, we got cited for 1. 3, but 2 was corrected on site. So in the end, it was 1. And that's what calmed her down. But you know what I'm saying? But just, that's why teamwork sometimes, because you might overlook something and I can come behind you and say, look, it's not that bad, and licensing will come out, but that's because before then, and the time before that, they came out and they ruffled her feathers and the assistant director feathers behind bullshit.
Stuff that was not,
you can say behind bullshit.
Things that were not in the regulations, and the policies, and I ruffled their feathers back.
Oh yeah, she did.
You ruffled them right back,
I went to my computer, and she told me she was going to write me up, and I said I can write also.
And that's true. And like you said, the things that they come out and try to chastise you about, it's not benefiting the kids.
Right.
It's just something that they come and try to crack their whip on us about because they can.
Right. And so, I definitely understand your point of view, and I'm glad she had you there to be that yin to that yang to kind of talk her down. But I can understand your frustration, because even that one, like you say, that one will be the reason insurance don't pick us up. That one,
she said that.
Yeah, absolutely. That one could be the reason we don't get selected for this new funding source. That one could be the reason somebody smearing you on you can terminate an employee, and then they go on the smear campaign. Then they say, look at their licenses deficient, and put the link there. That one can still drag us down.
Absolutely.
Drag us down. Yes. And again, as we're saying, these are some things that's out of our controls. Let's be realistic. I can't literally puppet master everyone who's in my organization.
Right.
I can't, right? So, but again, there are some things that's happening where, we have to take a step back and look at it and say, how can we better protect ourselves? How can we better advocate for ourselves? So as you said, Ms. Pam, being a part of these associations and these groups who have the voice, who have the ear of the people, getting to know your state representatives, getting to know your local official. We talked about this last season on the podcast. Everybody want to run out and vote for these big elections, but you ain't paying attention to the shit that affects you in your own backyard.
Directly.
Do you know who your representative is? Do you know who your council member is? Do you know who to call when you are having issues or problems or need support, right?
Yes.
That's going to be very important, because we can effectively make a change if we band together.
I agree.
So while we're talking about this, I want to kind of move on to parents. Dealing with parents, how do you say you all interact well with your parents? Have you built the understanding? Do they know? A lot of parents don't really see the behind the scenes of what happened in child care centers, but how do you keep your parents in a good level with you all throughout Shadow Gardens?
I think that having a personal relationship with our parents and being present. I try to make sure that I'm there in the mornings where they can see me. I even give some of them. I don't even mind them having my phone number, my cell number, because I tell them if you have an issue that you cannot get resolved, feel free to text me. I prefer to know than not to know.
Right.
So if it's something that I can resolve immediately, I feel like it's a win. And my parents have that relationship with me where they feel they can say anything, and it's gonna stay that right there with me. Now, although I'm gonna try to resolve the issue, it's not what you say; is how you approach it with your teacher or the person on the other end of that issue. We just recently had a parent. Yesterday, we had a meeting with one, and she made a lot of things, and she told me that, oh, I don't think the quality of the program is as good as it was last year. So I said, well, tell me about it.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. What are your issues? And come to find out, it was some things that she overlooked. And she was just saying that her child was not getting at behavior report every day. It stopped in like January, so they didn't get one in December or something like that. I looked in the folder. The teacher brought the folder to me, and you could see a stack of them that thick. And also his little practice work was on the other side. The teacher said, I stopped sending them because you all are not signing them and they're piling up. So I'm assuming that you're not paying attention to them anyway. So all she could do is sit there with a bubble in her mouth. And I looked at her and she said, I take full responsibility. I didn't know I had to sign them. I've been looking at them. I said, well, why are they still in here?
Right.
Why are they stacked up? It was about 11.
Yeah.
So that's almost a whole year of reports. So sometimes when you give that parent and let them know that your feelings matter, and we're going to get down to the bottom of this issue, and we're going to resolve it, and we're still going to be friends at the end of the day. I still love your child, and we're still going to run a quality program.
So having that open and honest communication with your parents.
Yes.
That's what I tell people about It Takes a Village. We are literally real life. When parents come to my center, I tell them, don't expect that nothing will ever happen with your child. We are real life human beings working with children and trying our best every day.
Yes. And that's important to tell them up front. Your child will go outside and scrape their knee.
Yeah.
Another child might bite or, something will happen. But just understand that we're going to do everything that we can to keep everyone safe.
Right.
I was in a conference yesterday on Zoom with where they were talking about fathers in childcare and male administrators, male teachers, and the things that we go through.
Okay.
It's totally different than what most women go through in daycare. So it's a kind of sensitive issue. You could see it in the parents' face as a man. I could see it. They have like concerns and reservations when they see me and when they see a man in the classroom. And you can hear sometimes the chatter. They come back, oh, my child said this and my child said that. There was a man, and we have all of these boundaries that we do. We have these things in place to make sure that no man teacher changes any female, toddlers and things of that nature. So you have to have all these things in place for men.
Right.
And people don't realize, a lot of women don't really realize that. And because you don't have a lot of us in childcare. So for me, it's unique. And I see it from both ends. And it's something that going forward, especially after going through that conference yesterday, that we're going to address a lot going forward, because it's necessary that the childcare centers, owners, everybody involve fathers a little bit more and look at us different and put us in roles that we can be more present.
Absolutely.
And that people become more comfortable with us in the child care center a lot more than they are now. Absolutely. Because it's an issue now.
Absolutely.
And it's something that we need to work on.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Thank you for sharing that point of view, Mr. Joey, as well. But I wanted to, we getting short on time, but I absolutely wanted to talk about the emotional toll of ownership. I know you said when certain things happen, just like with licensing, sometimes you have to come in and say, hey, Pam, look at it this way and check this out. How do you feel your mental health is in dealing with being an owner. I used to tell people all the time, this is the most stressful job I can even imagine because the buck stops with us. A teacher could say no, it was another teacher, and the other teacher could say no, it was a director, and the director could say no, it was the owner. But the owner gotta eat it all, right?
The buck stops.
The buck stops with us. So, what? How do you keep your mental health intact? What
Prayer.
support do you pull to?
Prayer.
Yeah.
Prayer,
And more
absolutely.
prayer.
Yeah.
Because without it, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I'm gonna keep it a buck with you, you know, and she knows it, and I watch her, and she knows that I do too. Sometimes that's all you have is prayer, and a lot of times that's all you need because he gets us through. You know, when there's no way, and you're back against the wall, and you've used all your resources,
Absolutely.
and somehow we make it.
Yeah.
We get through the other side.
Yeah.
You know, and it's by the grace of God and our persistence and you know, just determination that we're gonna win. You know, so you have to have that attitude and that energy because a lot of times, and I know you, Stacey, along with Pam, I think y'all have seen it all. You know, so it's just a matter of um putting things in the right place to make it to the next day because
Absolutely.
it's rough. I know it is.
It
You know?
is.
I think that we also have to let our staff and people know that we're human. Also, we do have those moments where we need to get away and have a breakdown. I just recently had this talk with my teachers in one of our meetings, and I said, I come in here with a positive energy and a good smile, a big smile on my face because you guys gonna feed off of me,
Right.
and the kids are gonna feed off of all of us.
Right.
You know, so we have to bring positive energy into this space so that we can make sure that we can get through this day holding each other up and understanding that we're all going through something outside these doors.
Absolutely.
But while we're in here, these children are our number one priority. And if you need to get away, if you need to go to your car, just say it.
Right.
Don't be in here having a breakdown. I have to go in my office and close my door a lot of times and just take a woosah moment or just say a prayer and breathe. And sometimes I've cried, you know,
Right.
because sometimes I don't have all the answers.
Right.
And that can be very stressful for a person who's always the problem solver, who's
Right.
always coming up with strategies and everything. But when when your back is against the wall and you just don't have the answer, what do?
Right.
You have to take a break. You have to take a trip. We've made that pact with our family that we're going to take a trip every year.
Right.
We're not going to just work, and let it be a continuous cycle of no break.
Right.
So we definitely have to take time for ourselves, having each other to lean on, and
Right.
I can call you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call you and check on you, especially if I haven't heard from you.
You do. Thank
What are
you.
you doing? You know, are you okay? You know, that helps.
Community.
That makes me
Yeah.
feel so good
Yes.
just to know that somebody thought about me
Yes.
today, and not me always being the one to think about everybody else. So,
Absolutely.
that support system, that sisterhood that we have, is definitely what helps get me through.
Absolutely. Community.
True.
Yes.
True.
Of like-minded people.
Yes.
And prayer.
Yes.
And prayer and prayer and prayer.
Pray.
Well, let me ask you this last question as we wrap up. If you had to start over, would you do it again?
I would.
Okay.
I would. It is
Most definitely.
definitely.
You would, Miss Pam would. I would. Okay. Okay.
I can't think of anything else that I would rather do. And I think
Okay.
about that a lot. And I say, where would I be if I wasn't here? I would be working for someone else.
Right.
I would be punching someone else's time clock and dealing with somebody else in the next cubicle or next office. There are going to be things in life you have to deal with everywhere you go.
Right.
So I'd rather do it at my own pace and allow God to order my steps as I do it and just keep it moving. We tell each other this all the time. I say, Stacey, keep your head above water and stay focused and keep it moving.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
You've been in it too long for it to fail you now.
Yes, indeed.
And it's not.
It get rough at times.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We've
But y'all good
been
at
on
what y'all
those
do,
slippery
man.
slopes
Y'all
a
good
lot
at
of
what y'all
times.
do.
Yeah,
Y'all
we
good
do.
at what y'all do.
You know, and just like you said, having a support system of we have Olivet with CCAL. We've got all of our members with them. We have Childcare Millionaires, who are some strong, powerful women and a great organization. Just being able to pick the phone up and call somebody and say, look, I'm going through this, and I don't look the way I feel right now.
Right.
So
Or for
that feels
somebody to
good.
notice you
Yeah.
haven't been around or you
Yes.
not looking the way you usually look. Right.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So having that support is definitely important. And I'm
Yes.
glad to know that if you had to do it all over again, you would.
I would.
You
You
absolutely would.
would.
I would. I believe I would because I
Yeah.
believe that we are all divine and destined to do what the Lord put
Yes.
us on this
Yes.
earth to do. You know,
Yes.
there's no
Yes.
doubt about that at all, you know.
Yes. Yes.
Well, let me ask Mr. Joey, do you have anything you want to leave us with as we wrap up this episode?
Not really. I mean, I think you've covered almost everything that I could think of, other than the fact that going forward, I hope that all of the little things that presents obstacles for you guys in this
Mm-hmm.
industry,
Mm-hmm.
I hope they all smooth out so that going forward, y'all could have it a little bit easier
I know, because
than
it's
y'all
rough.
had the last 10 years because it's been
Hard
rough.
out
So
here for
I
a
think
pimp.
I think there's a rainbow at the end of the tunnel for you
There
guys. So
is.
keep doing what y'all doing. Y'all do
Absolutely.
a very good job at it. The industry is lucky to have you guys,
Oh,
and
thank you, Mr.
keep
Joey.
doing what y'all doing.
Yes.
Thank you so
Mhm.
much.
Stacey and I actually was traveling to a conference once, and we were in a car driving,
Yeah,
and the two of us were together, and we saw a double
a double
rainbow.
See,
rainbow.
And I
Uh,
said, "You remember
I
that?"
I
remember.
got
We
goosebumps.
saw a
Yeah.
double.
I
I
got
said,
goosebumps.
"Stacy,
How
this is
rare
See,
is
true.
that?
see.
Yep.
How rare!" And we
And I
saw
Yeah.
it
just mentioned
together.
it.
Yep.
So, like I said, that's
Yes.
meant to be, you
Absolutely.
know.
This is
So,
my girl
Yes,
here.
yes. I
yeah.
love her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
She's
people,
my baby.
I'm
She's
not
grown up
just
to be my
saying
daughter,
this,
but look at her.
Miss
She's
Stacey,
taught
I'm
me so
not just
much.
saying this. I'm telling you, I see it. You guys are excellent at what y'all do. You
Thank you,
know,
Mr. Joe.
Thank you for
Yes.
having us.
Thank you for
We will
being here.
definitely do
Yes.
this again,
yeah,
and you guys stay tuned because she's got a lot of things to talk about.
yeah.
She is a voice to be reckoned with, and
Thank you.
follow her. You're gonna not regret it. So
Thank you
thank
so
you for
Thank you
much.
for
having me.
having
Well,
me,
this
Stacey.
wraps
Yeah.
up this episode of the Childcare Teacher Chronicles. I want to thank Miss Pam and Mr. Joey from Shadow Gardens here in New Orleans, Louisiana. As she said, I didn't have to say it. As she said, follow, like, and subscribe.
Yes.
And we will see you all later. Thank you.